Did you know that the shadow energy in Shadow Fight universe is not an energy but a sensitive force? Yeah. And that is because it has its own will and its ability to influence people, events, and even balance of dimensions. So, hey Slayers, today I'll sharing with you 30 amazing facts about Shadow Fight universe, which will finally make you subscribe to my channel. Yeah. Starting with the first one, origin of shadow energy. So the shadow energy is the core element in the whole series, but it was discovered accidentally when the scientists tried to create an unlimited energy source. And shadow energy is the backbone of the whole series. And did you know that Shadow Fight game was first released as a Facebook game in the year 2011, and it just features simple combat mechanism, nothing special, and that too on Facebook. Just imagine our parents scrolling through Facebook and playing Shadow Fight game today. Next up is the Shadow Fight timeline. So the events in Shadow Fight 2 occur before the Shadow Fight 3 events, with Shadow Fight 4 Arena being the continuation of the universe. And another one of the most fascinating fact is, like, we see the main protagonist, which is Shadow in Shadow Fight 2, who opens the Shadow Gates. But in reality, the Shadow Gates in Shadow Fight 2 were created to keep Shadow energy locked away, but were accidentally opened by the protagonist Shadow himself. Which brings us to the next fact, which is Shadow is not just a hero but also a villain. So Shadow, the protagonist of Shadow Fight 2, becomes the antagonist in Shadow Fight 3, who is referred as the Herald of Shadow. There are three factions in Shadow Fight 3, that is Dynasty, Legions, and Heralds. Each have their unique fighting styles, and not just fighting styles but also their own philosophies and also theories regarding the shadow energy. Next up is the mystical artifact. So the Shadow Spear, a mysterious artifact, plays an important role in the storyline of the Shadow Fight 3 game, influencing various characters in the game and in the next stories as well. So did you guys know the origin of Titan? Titan, the final boss in Shadow Fight 2, is a warlord from another dimension, not from this dimension, and uses shadow energy to enslave people. Next up is variety of weapons. The game offers 100 weapons, from traditional katanas to spears to unique weapons like claws. 10th is a kind of promotion of my video, which is Link's story. Lynx was the first boss in Shadow Fight 2, was a poor child who turned into a bloody assassin. So if you are talking about Lynx, how can we forget about Cleric? So Cleric was one of the most popular characters in the universe. He represents purity and stands against the misuse of shadow energy. Moving on to something really tech based, the Shadow Fight 3's technology was so amazing that it was the first mobile game to use motion capture technology for realistic animations. Yeah, Neki invested a lot in it and came out with something which was really unique and ahead of the competition. Next is the Sensei's past. Sensei, the wise mentor in Shadow Fight 2, has a really dark past as a shadow energy user himself. Next fact comes from Shadow Fight 3, which is about the Fateful Six. So the Fateful Six from Shadow Fight 3 are legendary warriors who have direct connections to shadow energy. And next up is real martial art influence. The fighting styles in the game are inspired by real world martial arts, including Kung Fu, Karate, and Muay Thai. And did you guys know how much that Neki invest in epic soundtracks? Well, the number is not released yet, but they invested a hell lot in Shadow Fight Universe series for its impressive soundtracks, which has blended traditional Eastern music with modern beats. And no lie, we all love them. Next one is Ascension and Eternal Maze. So Shadow Fight 2 features bonus game modes like Ascension and Eternal Maze. These are things that offer unique rewards for players who are hardcore. These help these hardcore players get bonus rewards. And the 20th fact is Neki's vision. So Neki's vision for this game was to merge RPG, which is role-playing game elements, with a classic martial art combat game, making it stand out in the mobile gaming world. But we all know the fact what it is going through. The next fact is about Shadow Mind. In Shadow Fight 3, the Shadow Mind is a powerful entity that manipulates shadow energy and plays a crucial role in the protagonist's story. And did you guys knew there are only 6 demons in Shadow Fight 2, which are Lynx, Hermit, Butcher, Wasp, Widow and Shogun. Represent challenges that test the player's skills in unique ways. Next one is about the Rift. The Rift is a mysterious dimensional tier introduced in Shadow Fight 3 for first time, which connects the world to the shadow energy. And did you guys knew the Titan had a whole army which was made of some deadly creatures who were created from shadow energy, and they were unstoppable in battles. And till now we saw about facts and all, but there is something really emotional in the next one. It is the May's tragic fate. So May, the protagonist's companion in Shadow Fight 2, she meets a tragic fate due to her connection with shadow energy, adding a really emotional depth to the story of Shadow Fight 2 and the whole Shadow Fight universe. And if you guys played Shadow Fight 2, you know how well we guys were connected to it. So I told you about the Fateful Six. So Marcus, the main hero in Shadow Fight 3, was also once a part of the legendary Fateful Six, but later left it because of different goals. Next fact is about Shadow Fight arenas. The arenas in Shadow Fight games are based on real world and mythical locations with intricate details that reflect their lore. And did you guys knew Shadow Fight also released comics? Yes, Neki released a Shadow Fight comic series too that expands the game's lore. These comics were focused on heroes like Marcus, Iolanda and a few others. I hope I can find them on the railway stations. The 29th fact of the video is Ascension Mode Twist. So do you guys remember the Blood Reaper weapons from Shadow Fight 2? Kind of nostalgic, right? So in Shadow Fight 2, Ascension Mode introduces the Blood Reaper, which is a cursed weapon that grants immense power but comes with a price. And that was a Blood Reaper weapon. Nowadays the Reaper weapon is something different. Some characters in Shadow Fight 3 like June and Kibo are resistant to shadow energy due to their unique training and experiences. And I will also tell you a bonus fact about Shadow Fight universe, and this is the most important one. So, the Shadow Fight's protagonist, Shadow, opened the gates of Shadow accidentally, but the gates were never meant to be opened by humans. The gates of Shadow were constructed to left behind by an ancient advanced race, and the gates of Shadow had dangerous beings and gateways to other dimensions. And the main protagonist of Shadow Fight 2 then turns into an antagonist, but in the whole series, Shadow is really underrated. His real powers are really way far than what we have been shown. Let's hope we get some really powerful and old heroes back in Shadow Fight 4 arena. And if you guys haven't subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Also tell me what do you want to see next and which was the most shocking fact for you.